Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Faux, and we are right around the corner from the Deadman mode Annihilation release date. That is Friday, January 30th. And I just kind of had the idea to put together a small little guide to get people started on the right foot. I initially had the idea to make a guide to get up to 12k points for the crystal recolor, but it's a little bit difficult the way that this is laid out to actually route out 12,000 points. So I figured a better strategy would be to present you with a few different options for the first hour of protection of Deadman mode, so you can get started on the right foot and kind of take things on your own from there. I'll discuss at the end of this a little bit about how you can approach different skills, because there's going to be some different sigil interactions that you might want to look for. And I'll also discuss some different achievement diary things to consider and when to look at doing those, so you can up your Deadman mode points overall for your entire grind. But the purpose of this is really just to get people started, and really the purpose of this is just so you can get a good start on Deadman mode and not be super vulnerable at the end of your first hour of protection when people can actually attack you. Now, the idea that I have is I'm going to take you through my idea for a ranged start if you want to just start with range, a magic start with several different options for training locations, because, you know, this is Deadman mode and there's going to be a lot of people doing the same thing at once, so you don't want to go somewhere that's way too crowded. So I don't want to point everyone in the same direction. And I'm also going to give you a money-making start, and this is going to be more for someone that either wants to have an alt account to make money on, wants to spend their first hour making money and then just have that in their back pocket and then kind of risk, training combat while they don't have protection anymore. That's an option. Or someone that simply wants to play for the first hour, be protected while they can make a little bit of money, swap that off the mode, profit on the main game, and just take off and call it done there. Some people will do that. This will give you an option to do that, and it's very simple to do. If you're looking for something specifically, check the chapter markers. I am going to include those so you can find exactly, straight to the range route or straight to the mage route or whatever else you are looking for here. That being said, I'm starting in the Lumberage Graveyard just to show you a couple things real quick. One thing, Count Check does not work in Deadman mode. You cannot use him to teleport to the Stronghold of Security. And Nigel in Deadman mode will be able to teleport you to one of the starting locations. I think that's Varrock, Falador, Grand Tree, Karend, and maybe Sears as well, once per day. So you can come up to him and you can talk to him and he'll teleport you to one of those locations one time per day. You'll probably only use this on day one and then never again. In Annihilation, I think you can also lock specific experience from Nigel. So if you want to make a unique build on the low combat bracket, I believe you can come here and lock specifically your HP level at level 50, but then continue to train range to a super high level to where you can have a very unbalanced account. They're kind of encouraging that this time. I think that's something new that came out today with this one. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the first route, which is going to be the range start. Now, first off, you'll notice my inventory is just kind of set up to kind of match what your inventory is going to look like on the day of the mode. In reality, I can't get some of the Deadman equipment in the main world, so I kind of just found things to closely mimic it. So this is my starter weapon, my starter sword, my starter bow, my starter staff. This is my Draman staff because, believe it or not, I just don't have one on this account. You'll also start with a Deadman cape. Body and legs, these actually do have stats on them, so you do want to equip them from the start. You'll start with 10 teleport cards and an empty chronicle. You can actually just use the noted cards on the chronicle to charge it in Deadman mode. At least that worked in Deadman mode Annihilation factions that we just played. So try that, it should work. If it doesn't, just run to the bank and put them in. You'll have a looting bag, which you're going to want to keep this closed in this guide just because you might be collecting dragon bones depending on which route you go with, and you don't want them to go to the looting bag. That's just a note there. So keep it closed for now, open it up later on. And the Deadman skull, this is what you interact with to open the interface to be able to buy sigils and anything like that. Keep track of how many points you have and keep track of how you can collect points. I think it has a menu on there to show you how you can collect points in different ways. Just so you have an idea of it, this is more what the Deadman inventory is going to look like on the day of. This was taken from my run of Deadman factions. So as you see, you have the Deadman armor and everything else that we just mentioned. You'll also start with 12 tuna in your inventory, and I want to say you'll have another 30 tuna in the bank, so you do actually have some food with you. Again, you have an hour of protection in Deadman mode, so you don't need to worry about getting attacked right away. So we're going to use this first hour to get as far as we can on several different combat styles. Now, one thing to note real quick, you should start Deadman mode with, I believe, 190 Deadman points, which you can click on your Deadman skull to access the menu to unlock things. You're going to gain points through gaining levels. Every level from level 1 to 49 is 5 points a level. Every level from 50 to 98 is 10 points a level. And I think level 99 might get you like 300 points or something along those lines. I'm not exactly certain. Sorry. You can also gain points off of achievement diary completions. This is not for the entire diary. This is like an individual step. So an individual step of the easy diary is 15 points. Medium diary, like enter the unicorn pen in Arty, That's 25 points, 40 points for a hard, and I think it's 60 points for an elite. You also gain points for combat achievements, so it's 10 points for easy, 15 for medium, 25 for hard, 35 for elite, 50 for master, and 75 for every grandmaster task that you complete. These are individual tasks, so doing this one specifically at Kriara would be worth 75 points. You will be able to gain points from bossing, but I'm not going to go over the list for that. You can find it on the wiki. It's very easy to find the Deadman mode Annihilation page and go from there. Everything gives a lot of different points. You get 5 times the amount of points for the first boss kill, and I think they all cap out at 100 kills. You can't gain any points from a specific boss after 100 repetitions of that boss. Each individual entry in the collection log gets you 10 points. Clue scroll completions get you different points based on what level clue it is. So it's 5 points for a beginner casket, 8 points for easy, 15 for medium, 20 for hard, 30 for elite, and 55 for master. And your first casket gives you 5 times that amount of points. So a 15-point medium casket for your first one would give you 75 points. Other than that, I believe the only other way to gain points is from breaches, and you are capped at 5,000 points per day from the breach. You get 1 point from damage there, so if you go to a breach and you end up dealing 1,000 damage, you will gain 1,000 points. This is 5,000 per day cap, so if you start on day 2, you can get up to 10,000 from breach monsters on day 2, as long as you can get that much damage in. This will be kind of hard to do early on. The first breach is going to be extremely difficult, but after that, it will get a lot easier, and you'll find yourself capping those points pretty easily once you're in the later brackets. Starting with the range route, my idea is to get you to about level 50 range and 37 plus prayer in the first hour with a decent amount of money. How we're going to do that is starting at the Grand Tree, and we're going to start by doing 1 lap of the Gnome Agility course. Now, the reason we're going to do 1 lap here is so you can jumpstart your Agility Relic, your Litheness Relic. You're going to unlock that pretty soon, and every 10 ticks of movement when you're running, you're going to gain an XP drop that is 20 times your level. Once we do that, we're going to come to the Spirit Tree, and we're going to click number 4 for the GE. That's 25 points. We're going to go back to the Gnome Stronghold for another 25 points, and then back to the GE because that's where we actually want to be. We can stop at the bank here. We can click our skull and unlock the Litheness Relic because we have over 250 points. We can also go to the Equipment tab, click on the Deadman mode icon here, and we can claim Ruthless Ranger, which is going to be our ranged combat relic. Attune that in your inventory and then go ahead and put that in the bank. Also attune Litheness, and that should just disappear from your inventory. Since we are now under the effect of Litheness, we don't need the agility level to use any agile shortcut in the game. It's guaranteed with the Litheness relic, so we don't need level 30 whatever for that. So you can come straight through here to the Fairy Ring, and we're going to take the Fairy Ring to 4 different locations to get 25 points each. The first one is BIS, the second AIR, the third is ALS, and the fourth is DIS. These are for 4 different achievement diary steps to get you a bonus 100 points. From here, we're going to go back to Edgeville, which is DKR. And we're going to run south to go do the Stronghold of Security. I'm not entirely certain how this is going to work in Annihilation, but once you get to the Stronghold, the first thing I want you to do is check this portal because you may be able to skip the first floor to the chest. Sometimes this works in Deadman, sometimes it doesn't. If this works, great. If not, either way, you're going to complete the first 3 floors of the Stronghold and then Chronicle Telly out to the Champions Guild. When we get to the Champions Guild, we're just going to enter and leave and then go straight into Varrock. This is for an extra 25 points. And we're going to run north to the clothes shop at the Celia. We are going to trade her to open the trade screen. And that's going to give us 15 points from an easy diary step. And then we're going to run up here to Benny, talk to Benny, and buy a newspaper with the money that we got from the Stronghold. That's going to be the first option. And that's going to be another 15 points. And then we're going to go into Lowe's archery shop right here. Now, Rangers here, you're going to be buying a Dorg crossbow from Lowe and bone bolts. I'd recommend getting 2,000 bone bolts. You can probably spend your entire cash stack. We don't need the cash on anything else for now. So you can hold a little bit back if you want to, but I recommend buying at least 2,000 bolts for what we're going to get into. From here, we're going to run to the Varrock East Bank, click on our Deadman skull again, and we're going to be buying the Consistency Sigil, and then attuning that and depositing it before we leave here. Then we're going to go to the Varrock sewers or any other low-level range training location you can think of. We're going to kill rats with our starter bow until we get level 20 range. Once you get 20 range, come back upstairs and go to the Varrock Museum upstairs on the far side. We're going to talk to Historian Manas and spacebar through the options until he gives you 2 red XP lamps, which are worth 10k XP each. The first one we're going to use on range. The second one we're going to save until later. From here, we're going to run back to Varrock East Bank. We should have enough points for Death Strikes, so we're going to click on our Deadman Skull again, unlock Death Strikes, and attune that one. And then we're going to be heading north to any green dragons that are in the wilderness. There are several different options to safe spot green dragons in the wilderness. There are several different locations for them. You can choose the ones that are on the eastern side here and safe spot over skeletons on the ground. You can choose north of the Graveyard of Shadows, or you can choose near the lava maze up here, just on the south side of it. I probably would avoid the western dragon ones just because they're kind of difficult to safe spot. But either way, all we're trying to get is 3 dragon kills, which should net us 6 dragon bones, because any dragon, I believe that's not a lava dragon in Deadman mode, will yield 2 dragon bones on death. We're looking for 6 bones, and then we're going to take that to the wilderness altar. Once we get to the wilderness altar, use your dragon bones. They won't be noted for you on the altar until you get at least level 37 prayer. I'd probably burn them all and see if you can get to 43 if you have very good luck. If you don't hit level 37, go ahead and use the second XP lamp you saved back on prayer to finish the way there. If you did get it, then you can choose whatever you want to use that lamp in. You can save it until later, but I think this lamp does disappear if you die. So just consider that you probably want to use it on level something that's level 20 or higher before the end of your protection. From the wilderness altar, we're going to be running all the way southeast to the zombie pirates at the Chaos Temple. This is where your home's going to be for the remainder of your protection. When you get to the zombie pirates, you want to Mage pray and Hawkeye pray, unless you got level 44 prayer, and then you can Eagle Eye. And your goal is to simply kill as many zombie pirates as you can, which have 40 HP each, in the remaining protection that you have. Keep in mind, you're only going to hit the drop table for these 15% of the time. It is nerfed because you don't have the Wilderness Medium Diary, but that's okay. The primary reason here is that you're making some money while you're getting range levels. This is a very low defense NPC to be able to train on. And though there will be other people here, you can go ahead and just spread out a bit. If you want to stay on, like, the south side or somewhere a little bit further away from the altar, you're going to have to run all the way back around here to restore praise. So maybe consider turning off Hawkeye and, standing on one of the other sides that are a little bit less contended with other people. But that's all there is to this one. You're going to go ahead and kill these, loot whatever you get off of them, and hopefully you're able to make a little bit of starter cash, some blighted supplies, prey pots, whatever else in the first hour. And just in case you didn't know, you will get zombie locker keys from these guys sometimes. So if you do get any before your protection runs out, you're going to want to run all the way to the eastern ship over here at the Pyre Cove. And there's a chest at the back of this that you can open up that key with, which will give you more rolls at loot like the Rune Longsword or Steel Cannonballs or whatever else. And that's it for zombie pirates. So, trust in the process, hope that you can, stick it out long enough to be able to get some loot. If for whatever reason you're not digging this, you can always leave here, go start Wilderness Slayer at Crystalia, and move on that way. If you want to start with magic for your 1 hour protection, we're going to spawn in the Gnome Stronghold. We're going to open up our Deadman crate, put on our 3 items, our cape, our body, and our legs, and we're going to start by doing 1 lap of the Gnome Stronghold agility course. This is to get to level 10 agility so you can get a jump start on your Litheness relic. If you don't know already, the Litheness relic is going to give you an experience drop every 10 ticks of running. That is equal to 20 times your current agility level. So if you get this off of 1 lap to level 10 agility, you're gaining a ton more experience than if you were to let it roll from level 1. Level 1 is a 20 XP drop, level 10 is a 200 XP drop, so the experience will compound a lot quicker if you're just doing 1 quick lap and spending 30 seconds here. For that reason, I think it's worth it. From here, we're going to Spirit Tree to the Grand Exchange for 25 points from the Achievement Diary step, back to the Gnome Stronghold for 25 points again, and then back to the Grand Exchange one last time. We're going to run down to the bank and claim the Litheness relic on our Deadman skull and attune that. We're also going to go to the Equipment tab and click right here, which is a little Deadman icon, and we're going to grab the Menacing Mage sigil and attune that. You can go ahead and deposit the Menacing Mage sigil in the bank, and then run to the northwest for the shortcut. Now, since you unlocked the Litheness relic, you can automatically use any shortcut regardless of the level, so you don't need the level requirement for that one. We're going to go from here to the Fairy Ring and go to 4 different Fairy Rings for 25 points each. BIS, AIR, ALS, and DIS. After we're done with that, we're going to go back to Edgeville, which is DKR. From here, we're going to run straight south and then make our way to the Stronghold of Security to do the first 3 floors for 10k GP. When you climb down the entrance at the Stronghold, make sure you check the first portal. This might teleport you to the center room. It might not. It did work in Deadman Factions, which is why I want you to check it. If it does work, great, continue on the Stronghold. And if it doesn't, go ahead and do the first 3 floors either way and make sure you get your 10k GP. Then teleport to the Chronicle to get to the Champions Guild. Once we get here, we're going to go inside to complete a task for 25 points. And then we're going to go outside and run to the Varrock clothing shop. Trade Thessalia and then close the shop for 15 points. Also come up to Benny to the northeast and buy a newspaper from him for another 15 points, and then run to Zaf. At this point, you want to decide where you want to train your magic at for the duration of the protection. I'm going to give you 4 options, but you can also go to anywhere outside of these. These are just elemental weakness related options that I think are decent choices. Those are blue dragons, lava dragons, fire giants, and ice giants. Use the wiki if you need to find out where to find any of these, and make sure you're using the associated weakness. Blue dragons, lava dragons, and fire giants are all weak to water spells. Ice giants are weak to fire spells. So if you're going to do ice giants, buy a fire staff. Otherwise, buy an air staff. From here, run to the rune shop and buy at least 500 casts of whichever style you chose. Personally, I'm going to buy 800. Before we leave Varrock and go to your training location, run to the East Bank and unlock the Consistency and Deft Strikes relics with your Deadman skull. If you decide to go to dragons at any location, make sure you're confident in knowing how to safe spot them because you don't have an anti-dragon shield, and if you die even in a PVM death, you will lose all of the items that are in your inventory. Now you will respawn at your respawn location with the same starter items that you started the game with, but you won't have your extra runes or cash anymore. They will appear to anyone else in the game after 1 minute. Another thing to keep in mind is to make sure to use a location that you don't think other people are going to go to. So if you do want to do fire giants or something along those lines for your 1 hour of protection, maybe consider going to the Isle of Soul dungeon at BJP, the Waterfall dungeon, the Karom Slayer dungeon, the Giant's Den, or maybe here at the Deep Wilderness dungeon to get your fire giants. Specifically on fire giants and ice giants, you will train a lot faster because these are 100% weak to their respective elemental style. So your max hit moves to a 16 with a water strike, as opposed to only a 50% water weakness on lava dragons or blue dragons. Also something to note, the starter staff that you start the game with, even though it looks like a fire strike, it's not actually a fire spell. So if you intend to go to ice giants for their 100% fire weakness, you will get faster mage levels, but you need to actually use mine runes, air runes, and a fire staff if you're going to do that and autocast the actual fire strike spell. The starter staff is not actually a fire strike despite looking like it. Depending on what you decide to go to, if you're going to something with 100% water weakness specifically, you will very likely have extra time at the end of your protection. So what you can do with that is go to the Mage Bank and safe spot Collodion for Mage Arena 1. This is pretty simple to do even without overheads. Once you start the Mage Arena and talk to Collodion, you'll get teleported here into the arena with him. Once you do that, just run west to the far side of this skeleton, and then continue running basically all the way to the wall over here. Make sure you're in line with the skeleton in one of these 2 tiles, and Collodion will be trapped on the far side of it out of your combat range. From there, all you need to do is attack him, and every time he respawns, he will not move. You just re-engage with him, and you have a non-prayer safe spot for the Collodion fight. You can do this with the starter staff if you run out of runes. You can actually do this with the starter staff in case you run out of runes. It just takes a little bit of time on the fight. After you complete the Collodion fight, make sure you come claim your mage cape from the Mage Arena downstairs and talk to the Chamber Guardian to claim your staff. If you don't feel like you're going to use the Mage Arena 1 staff, go ahead and high alch it because it's 48k GP, so it can get you a little bit ahead on money if you didn't make a lot on your route. Also consider that we didn't need to claim the lamps from the Varrock Museum for anything for this route, so you can go back and do that and use it on whatever you want to. It could be a way to get 20k prey XP pretty early. Just remember you need to have at least level 20 in a skill to be able to use that lamp. The money making route is by far the easiest start of all the different starting options, but this is going to be more geared towards someone that wants to use this account as an alt or probably just gain money in the first hour and then want to swap it off and in the mode there. You can use it to start your run period, but it's just not going to be as ideal as using your protection for more dangerous things than making money. If you want to do this start, go ahead and spawn at Varrock, open your Deadman skull, and claim the Deception relic. From the spawn, we're going to run to the Varrock Museum to claim the 2 museum lamps to use on thieving. However, if you do plan on making this your main run, you probably want to hold on to these lamps and use them on something else later on. The thieving use of these lamps is more so just for the person that wants to have an alt making money on the side and isn't going to do anything extra with the account afterwards. From here, we're going to run to the Quetzal, and we're going to take the Quetzal to Varlamore. Once we arrive, we're going to run south outside of the city through the southern exit. The goal here is to get level 50 thieving, and we're going to be doing so by 3 different NPCs. We're going to start with citizens, which is basically the equivalent of a man or woman, and we're going to pickpocket from these about 15 times until we're level 10. Once we're level 10, we're going to run slightly to the southeast and pickpocket from the farmer all the way until level 40. This will be just over 200 pickpockets total, and with the Deception relic should take about 4 minutes. Once we hit level 40, we're just going to run back to where the citizen was and pickpocket from a guard until you're level 50. And now that we're level 50, we're going to go back into the city and pickpocket from wealthy citizens. You're going to spend the rest of your time protected here at Wealthy Citizens and should end up with about level 80 thieving at the end of the hour of protection and just around 200,000 GP cash. Just as a note, if you end up getting any house keys from this grind, you do not want to go into the houses to thieve the stolen valuables, they're not worth the time. It's much more efficient overall to stay at the Wealthy Citizens, where you're going to guarantee to auto pickpocket them every 2 ticks. And that's all there is to this one. Make sure you bank your money before the end of your protection. Otherwise, you probably will be logging out and ending your Deadman mode run early. Once you're done with your 1 hour protection, you have several different options to move ahead from there. You can either continue training combat to get to the next bracket and get another hour of protection. You can move into skilling, in which you would want to look at your relic list and consider certain things like the Infernal Chef, Enhanced Harvest, Remote Storage, or Efficiency Sigils. Or you can look heavily into the achievement diaries and start knocking these off for easy point completions. I hope you guys truly enjoy your Deadman experience and are able to get off on the right foot with your 1 hour protection. And if you have any questions, feel free to stop by the stream and ask. Take it easy, guys, and enjoy Deadman mode Annihilation.